Hey friend, so you're here because you've launched your campaign, you've researched all the targeting, you've been doing all the things to make your Facebook ads campaign successful, and you've identified that your copywriting is not hitting the mark. What we're going to do in today's video is talk about how you can improve the copywriting for your Facebook ad campaigns. So welcome to this training. My name is Sarah May Ives, and I help women start highly profitable Facebook ads business in the span of about 90 days. So if you'd like to learn more about exactly how we do that and what it looks like to have a Facebook ads business, check out the link in the description to this video for your download of my free guide. It's called the Fast Method Guide to Starting Your Own Profitable Facebook Ads Business. So truly, my passion is really helping women to get super clear on the right type of business to start and where they should devote their time, energy, money, and all kinds of things to get a profitable online home business. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited to dig into talking about how to make the best possible copywriting for your Facebook and Instagram ads. So the first tip that you want to remember is that you have to pique people's curiosity. When it comes to Facebook and Instagram ads, one of the most important things that you can consider is the curiosity factor. How curious can we make people about this particular piece of advertising? You also want to consider things that are called a pattern interrupt, something that jolts them out of their mindless scroll, something that makes them pay attention. So this is often a really juicy hook. You want to make sure that in your headline and also in the first couple of lines of the Facebook ads, there's a real compelling hook. And what I find works the best is to have almost conversational or informal language. So when you're writing, it's almost like you're writing a post for your family or friends. I've often found that the best posts start with kind of casual language like, wanna wager a guess, or tell me about this, or I kind of think it's crazy when this happens. So you want to try and make the language as compelling as possible, piquing people's curiosity and using that sort of more informal language so people may not even identify immediately that they're reading an ad. This is going to really help with the impact factor of the copywriting that you're presenting to the audience. Now, the next thing is you want to focus on the first 6 lines of your Facebook ad. So when it comes to writing, and especially copywriting, you want to consider the impact factor of the ad. So what is the purpose of the first line of the ad? It's to get people to read the second line. And what's the purpose of the second line of the ad? It's to get people to read the third line. So what I often find works best here is to use short, snappy, almost fragmented. So you don't want to be too choppy, but you basically want to pull the eye further and further down the ad until they don't even know it, but they're actually reading through the ad. So really your main purpose for those first 6 lines of the copywriting is to really make sure that they continue reading. So I like to use short, snappy, almost fragmented words so that they flow right down the ad and right to the call to action where we want to see them go. Now, the next thing you want to focus on is their problem. You want to make sure that the ad immediately conveys the type of problem that they are presented with. So when it comes to advertising, we're often talking about a problem because the products that our clients are selling are almost always solving a problem. So we really want to make sure that that problem is front and center. Now, for many of you who are working with clients that are running Facebook ads, their problem is something that they initially had trouble with as well. So this lends itself really well to writing Facebook ads that convert, because what we can actually do is we can take our client's story of why they're so good at doing XYZ and we can present it directly to the audience. So what do I mean by this? Well, for example, in my business, I floundered for years and years and years before I found a profitable business, which was my Facebook ads business. Now, prior to this, I struggled from 2011 to 2017 trying to figure out all kinds of different businesses. So when it comes to my advertising that I run for my program, I lead with that story. And I talk about the pain and the struggle that I went through to actually identify and build and create a profitable business. So when it comes to this component of the ad, you really want to make sure you're leading with the problem. And to properly lead with the problem, you really have to tap into your client's story of why they're selling what they're selling, why they even have their business in the first place, and who they help. And in a perfect world, we also want to say to them, how did you experience this? So another example could be, if you are helping a dating coach, say you're running ads for a dating coach and your dating coach helps women meet their soulmate, what you actually want to ask the client is, okay, perfect. You help women find their soulmate. Why did you create this business? And what is your story about finding your soulmate? And often you'll find that your client says, well, actually, I went through this exact story myself. And that's the story we need to lead with. So this leads me to my next point, which is you need to connect with emotions. You have to remember that all advertising is emotional and all purchases are emotional decisions. What we typically do as humans is we make a decision based on emotion and then we justify it with logic. So what you really want to make sure that your advertising, your copywriting for your advertising includes is those core emotions. So what emotions is that person going through that is having trouble finding their soulmate? What issues are those people going through that are having trouble identifying a business that's profitable? You really want to pull out the more emotional aspects of what this means in that person's day-to-day life. So a way that is easy to explain it is take the person you're helping, the person that you want to read these ads, and ask yourself the question, what are their wake up in the morning problems? Or what are they can't sleep at 3 a.m. in the morning? What are they worrying about? Those are the emotional aspects of that person's story that is really important to emphasize in the copywriting. Now, the next tip is to again emphasize that story. So you really do want to emphasize the story that your client tells to pull people into their marketing funnel. And when you tell that story of how they were once where their potential client was at, what it does is it sets up the authority. It lets the person know that, okay, this person used to be in my shoes and he or she actually figured out a solution. And then you can get to the point of the story where you say, okay, great. We've got the beginning, the problem. We've got the middle, which is the kind of journey that they went along. And then we have the end. They found the solution that worked for them. So you really want to use this storytelling, this kind of story frame for your advertising. Even though you're not writing a novel and you're not writing a screenplay for a movie, an ad is a story, and you want to make sure that it encapsulates those main core components. So Aristotle said a story is a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then I think it was Joseph Campbell, correct me if I'm wrong, who came along and said, well, that's a pretty simplistic version of a story. A real story actually includes a conflict, something that goes wrong, and then a resolution of that conflict. So that's really what a story has to include. A beginning, presenting the problem, and then a middle where they're fighting against the different forces, they're figuring out a solution, and then they get to a place at the end. So you really want to make sure that even in your small ad, you have this story theme to all of your advertising. So you really want to make sure you've got a beginning, middle, and end, and a power struggle to get to a new perfect world, like an ideal place where they're at. Really, in the advertising lingo, if you're dealing with a person meeting their soulmate, that's where they've met their soulmate and now they have a date for all national holidays. You get the picture. So you do want to make sure you apply this story framework to your advertising copy. And the next thing is the solution. So you absolutely want to make sure that your ad very clearly articulates what the solution is. So this is inviting them to a next step and making sure that the call to action is very clear. So for many clients, say we're doing those, let's go with the theme of the romance coach, say the ad is inviting the people to a webinar, you want to make sure that the solution is clear, that I have discovered this unique methodology and I invite you to come to my free webinar where I'm going to educate you on all all the core mistakes that women are making and the 3 secrets that they can use to meet the man of their dreams. So you really want to make sure that you've got a solution and that they have a clear call to action to engage in a next step. That is super duper important in the ad copy. I'm also going to recommend that you not only put the link to the call to action in the link section. So of course, when you're creating your Facebook ads, you have a place where you can insert a URL so that they can go and attend that webinar or do whatever that next step is. You also want to make sure that you also take that URL and put it in the ad copy as well at the very end. So story, and then call to action, and then actually paste the link in that ad copy as well. I have found that that increases the number of people that actually opt in to your ad. The last thing is you want to make sure there is no confusion. It's really important that when it comes to this ending call to action, you only have one call to action. And the same thing even goes for a webinar. If you or your client is working on a webinar, you want to make sure that the webinar is really only pushing one thing. It's either booking a call or it's either selling a program with one price, no confusion. And the very same logic goes for writing ad copy. You want to make sure there's one very clear and concise call to action for the ad, which is click on this link and do the next thing, or click on this link and purchase, whatever it might be. So I really hope that you have enjoyed these tips to improve the copywriting of your ads. Now, you might also be wondering, how do I actually even know if it's the copywriting that needs to be worked on in my ad? And the short answer to this question is look into the ads manager, look at the campaign statistics, and toggle to the CTR. Your CTR, if your ad is running to a cold audience, so these are people that have never seen you or heard of you before, should be around 1%. Now, if you're running this ad to your warm audience, people who have seen you before, we would hope that that click-through rate would be double that, around 2% or 3%, because in theory, the people that know, like, and trust us should be more inclined to actually click on our marketing. So that's how you can actually tell that the copy needs to be worked on. If the CTR is below 1%, say it's 0.8 or 0.9, that's when you'd be like, okay, I do need to work on the copywriting, either rejigging the first couple of lines or rejigging the headline. So I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put a comment in the comments below and I will answer them. And again, if you want to learn a little bit more about my unique methodology for helping women get highly profitable ads businesses, then visit the description to download my free guide. This has been so much fun and I'm so grateful that you've joined me today, and until next time.